Today on AniLysis, we're going to follow up from our last video and we're going to talk about mean Rachel. So last time we covered nice Rachel. It's the real Rachel split into two personalities. How does that happen? Well, it starts when Rachel goes on a school trip and finds a rock pool and drops her earring in it. This is what happens. I climbed up over the lip of the pool, out into relative dryness. I focused my mind on morphing and began to wham! Something hit me hard. The starfish didn't have much in the way of pain sensors, but I still knew, the starfish knew, deep down, that it was very, very badly hurt. I tried to make sense of it all, but all I knew for sure was this. I'd been able to count to 5 on my starfish legs. Now I could only count to 2. I was cut in half. Half a starfish lay unchanged in the tidal pool, 2 legs and a chunk of a third, and an earring. I caught a glimpse of the family, the 2 boys. One of them had a bucket and a shiny new steel spade. He'd been the one who had cut me. He'd been the one who'd almost killed me. Rotten, filthy little brat. "Oh, kill him," I said. "Kill him! Kill the filthy little creep." Morph to grizzly bear and tear him apart. No, not the kid. Bailey. His fault. He delayed me. Otherwise, it would have all worked perfectly. What's happened is, and the Animorphs discussed this, is that Rachel has morphed this starfish, gets sliced in half, but because of the starfish's regenerative ability, somehow that meant there were 2 Rachels and their personality was split between them. Nothing else about them, nothing like physical body was split, just various traits of personality. Things like language weren't split, but this is all criticism of the book, the way it's written. Go watch my review of book 32, The Separation, for those criticisms. I'm not here to criticise this book, although if my last analysis is anything to go by, there will be criticisms slipping in here and there. But anyway, that's the premise, that her personality, or certain aspects of her personality, are split into these 2 individual Rachels, who are later known as Mean Rachel and Nice Rachel, and their narrations are split throughout this book. And the first thing we learn is that Mean Rachel demorphs first, because she's the impulsive one. She does things bang, straight reaction, gets straight to it, doesn't think, doesn't get scared, doesn't hesitate, she just gets straight to it. So she demorphs straight away and instantly looks for somebody to blame. It was him. No, it was him. Even though we found out in the last one and through this book that Nice Rachel is the indecisive one, this is a strange moment of indecisiveness for Mean Rachel, being able to not being able to decide who did her wrong and who she should kill. But what happens then? She runs off. Nice Rachel's left behind and sees Mean Rachel running off in the distance, doesn't recognise her at first, and then Mean Rachel later on, after assumedly, what's the word there? We assume she has killed these 2 children and their family. She flies off to see Tobias. I hooked up with Tobias at his meadow. He saw me coming and swept down out of the sky, fierce, wild, a thing of dangerous beauty. "Hi, Rachel. Hear anything from Jake about this mission?" "I haven't seen Jake." "Don't worry, he'll get a word to us if there's killing to be done." "Ha! Anti-morphing ray. You have to admire the Yerks. They never stop trying. They never stop trying to take us down. Now, let's fly." This isn't too different from the real Rachel that we see, maybe just a little bit more sinister in her tone. But she's always like, "Yeah, let's do it." That's the Rachel catchphrase, isn't it? "Let's do it, old chums." Maybe not that way. But she goes up to Tobias and is already gung-ho. Now, he doesn't suspect straight away, but then she starts to do some pretty weird stuff. And it's all about power. And we saw in that first bit there, she likes to describe the dangerousness of things, the wild nature, the fierceness. We get a lot of those sorts of descriptions. So what happens as she's out with Tobias to make him suspicious? The bad part of morphing to eagle is the shrinking. You get smaller, a lot smaller, and your first thought is, hey, smaller is weaker, and no way do I want to be weaker. But then you feel your weak, useless human lips harden and push out and out, forming the wicked, yellow, downturned, ripping, tearing eagle beak, and you think, ha, smaller, yes, but not weaker. I spilled air, tucked my wings back, and dived. The rush, the thrill. I was an eagle being an eagle, pure raptor, pure rapture. That struck me as a good thought. "Tobias," I cried, "pure raptor, pure rapture, aha!" Rachel, what are you doing? My eagle's eyes, adapted by nature for seeing through water, filtering out the glare, saw it all. 6 fish, 6 trout, all unaware, and one I chose, would die. You'll never live to chase another fisherman's lure. I've chosen you to die. I raked my talons forward. I flared my wings. A splash! The sudden, lovely feeling of my talons striking firm, cold flesh. Strike! I squeezed and talons sank deep. The fish, only now recognizing its doom, squirmed. Helpless. I am the eagle. You cannot resist me. This is Rachel on steroids. Just absolutely manic, going balls to the wall. Just crazy. Okay, and this is where Tobias starts to suspect that something strange is going on. You'll notice there that Rachel has a fascination with being stronger, more powerful, hence the stuff about her morphing. Oh, I'm getting smaller, but you know what, I'm also getting stronger. I'm getting strong. And that's basically her personality. There's not much else to it. There are a couple of bits, and we will cover that. Anyway, shortly after this bit with Tobias, mean Rachel goes to the mall. Because Rachel loves shopping. Or does she? Because apparently half of her personality absolutely hates it. How does that make sense? You tell me, book. But anyway, she goes to the shop, and if you watched my last episode regarding Nice Rachel, you'll remember that this big frumply-dumply girl, who in any other case I would assume was Jessica from book 5, but the book's written in a way that Rachel doesn't know this girl, so it probably isn't Jessica, basically just the same person but slightly different. Might as well have been Jessica. I made that point in the last episode. Whatever. This is what happens, but because, bit more context, Nice Rachel has already bumped into Jessica, point 2, and run off crying. Now mean Rachel comes up to Jessica, point 2, and this happens. Oh, it's the crybaby, someone said. Some girl. I pushed past her. She grabbed my arm. This was a mistake. I grinned at her. Back off, you hideous, putrid, diseased-looking lump of lard, I said. I was being nice. I was giving her a chance. What are you going to do, little preppy girl? Bust out in tears and my right hand shot towards her throat. She jumped back. I lashed out with my left foot and caught her hard on the shin. She yelled, a good sound. I ploughed into her, shoulder down, and slammed her back against the knife rack. The 30cm chef's knife was in my hand, so easy to plunge it into her heart. But you know, I kind of liked this girl. She reminded me of me. Whereas Nice Rachel ran away cowering, mean Rachel seems to have gotten firstly, seems to have gotten the acrobatic skills of real Rachel. She's just straight in there, combat extraordinaire, and takes out Jessica, point 2. And thinks about killing her. Now this happens a lot in this book where mean Rachel's like, I'm gonna kill you if this wasn't a young adult book. If only. Yeah, that happens a lot. She just at the last minute thinks, oh actually no, today, no. Because I thought she was supposed to be impulsive, but whatever. She's got the same hesitation as Nice Rachel in that regard. Not that I wanted her to go around murdering people, because that would have probably made the book even bloody worse. She saves the killing of random people for book 37, which I'm sure we'll get to someday. Fuck that book. Where are you? Where can I throw? No, I can't be bothered. Anyway, we learn a few other bits about Rachel's personality as she's walking through the mall and talking to other people, and just going about mall life. I hate the mall. I don't know why I ever thought I liked it. Must be one of those things where you just suddenly wake up one day, the scales fall from your eyes, and you behold the truth. The mall sucks. I mean, if you ever want to really experience contempt for your fellow human beings, go to the mall. They moo along like cattle, little knots of them, little gaggles of them, like sheep. What a hideous spectacle. And all for what? To buy. Shopping, sport of the brain dead. Yeah, I am a girl. But I mean that all of my clothing was so squeaky clean, so preppy, so good girl. I needed something with a little more of an edge, man. I needed some leather. Yeah, some black leather. That was it, leather. I shoved past this obnoxious couple that was getting all goo-goo because their kid was walking. He was like 2. Big deal, he could walk. Hey, watch it please. You watch it, old man, I replied politely. My son is trying to walk, the woman said. Yeah, and with your DNA in him, that'll probably be his highest accomplishment, I said tolerantly. She's going to become a biker by getting leather. She hates other people. She's basically become a misanthrope. And she's got this strange thing where she thinks or asserts that she's being polite when she's really not. Also, by the way, her insults are bloody atrocious. What was the one she said to Jessica .2 again? Oh, it was, back off, you hideous, putrid, diseased-looking lump of lard. Just call her a twat and be done with it, you know. But yeah, she's going around, you're a dick, you're a cock, and you're a complete dick cock. Cockwomble. Yeah, that's the one. She's going around doing all that. And then she's, in her own head, she's saying, I said that very politely. Yes, I did. I was very nice to that person there. Dickhead! That was clever. She's like that. It's really weird, and apparently that's part of Rachel's character. Oh. So, yeah, that's what we're learning about this girl very quickly. Nice Rachel and Mean Rachel then come together in the barn, and that's where the Animorphs have this investigation into what exactly is going on. And Rachel, or Mean Rachel, immediately starts to antagonize the other Animorphs. She does a backflip and attacks Marco. I took that quote for the last episode, for the Mean Rachel one, Nice Rachel one. I don't want to go over all the same quotes all over again, so. But yeah, just to summarize that bit, Marco makes a joke, so Rachel does like a backflip and lands on his chest and starts threatening him and all that. And then she eventually turns on Jake. Shut up, Mean Rachel snapped. Don't make me kill you. Now you, little girl, you have about 3 seconds to tell us. Don't threaten, Jake said with unmistakable authority. Mean Rachel forgot me in a flash. She rounded on Jake. Don't get in my way, Jake. Don't push it, Rachel. Are you threatening me? She nearly screamed. Come on, you think you can tell me what to do? Let's go, right now, you and me. Just keep our pet Andalite here out of the fight. You and me. We'll see who's giving orders around here after I give you the butt kicking you're begging for. The possible fight was interrupted at this point by the arrival of Eric King. I just wanted to leave that last sentence in there because I fucking hate that moment. God damn it, Eric! Ruined what could have actually become an alright scene. Cockwomble. We see a few other facets of her personality coming out, so they're talking about what happened with the starfish and the earring and all that, and there's this exchange between the two Rachels regarding the earring. I dropped my earring in a rock pool, nitwit Rachel said suddenly, sounding as excited as if she'd just answered correctly on Mastermind. Stupid earring, I said. My favourite earrings. My dad gave them to me. Guilt gift, I sneered. It was sweet. It was a payoff for missing our visit that weekend. He was busy. Right. You're horrible, and you're a pinhead. It seems that Mean Rachel's also got the bitter side to her. Oh, that was just a fucking guilt gift, wasn't it? A fucking dad. Oh, he didn't mean it. Yeah, it's that, I talked about how Nice Rachel's got the paranoia, but Mean Rachel's also got it, so they both got the paranoia side of Rachel. A paranoia which we never saw that much in the real Rachel, so where that's come from, I don't know. Apparently it's so prevalent that they both got it. But she thinks that it was just a freaking guilt gift. He didn't really mean it to be nice or anything like that. But we also see a little bit of discrepancy in the message this book's trying to get across regarding Mean Rachel's personality. She starts to spy on the Animorphs in the barn. I was early at the barn. Suddenly it occurred to me, I could spy it out. I should have thought about that earlier. Only, why bother to load up your brain with a bunch of what-if stuff? The future is not my problem. Live for today. Fight for today. This is an awkward paragraph because it's basically saying, I could spy this out just in case there's any danger. Oh, but at the same time, I only think in the now, in the present. But no, that's contradictory. The whole point of spying is so you can predict what's going to happen, so you can see what movements are going to happen, so that you can see where everything's going to end up. What's the point of spying if you don't utilise the knowledge for what happens going forward? So, is that paranoia? I don't know. She's gonna spy on the barn. You could say it's not paranoia because she's looking for enemies that she can attack. But then again, that's not an aspect of her personality because she's looking to the future, which is, according to this book, not what she does. She doesn't plan. Check this quote. "You don't need a plan, Rachel," I told myself. "The great and powerful Rachel does not need a stupid plan. No, no. The mighty Rachel would arrive and then that would be it. Let the battle begin. Let those fools, my friends, see how weak they were without me." I don't think mean Rachel is capable of long-term thinking. Nice Rachel is, but she's not capable of short-term focus. Rachel busted in last night with no idea what to do, no plan. She was just reacting. But nice Rachel laid out a shopping trip yesterday that was like a general planning an invasion. So another reason why this book has, in my opinion, failed, in that it's not even self-consistent. But let's look at one more aspect of mean Rachel's personality that only really comes up the once but is never explored any further. Let's look at this and then maybe discuss it. I lay there on my back, feathers dampened by the grass, and kicked my bird legs and flapped my bird wings and threw my head back and forth and screamed. Screamed and screamed and screamed, and still the volcano inside me would not die down. It seemed like forever. It was not a fever, an illness, a tidal wave of emotion that had rolled over me. How long it lasted, I don't know. A long time it seemed to me. Then, at last, it ebbed. It ebbed, leaving behind a shaky, uncertain feeling. Fear? Yes, fear. Fear of myself. And yet the hunger was not lessened in any way. I had missed this kill. I wouldn't miss the next. This has got to be the most curious part of this entire book. This single part here, because Rachel had gone to try to attack a cat on the way to one of the missions that they go on. And she fails and she ends up on her back, sort of like stunned as a bird of prey. And she's talking about how this volcano is just erupting constantly inside of her, and she starts screaming internally, which I understand is all part of the rage that is put across that she has quite a lot, and that's understandable. But then that little bit near the end there's this thing that just appeared beneath all that when it ebbed away, and that was fear of myself. Just that is like, what's this trying to tell us? And I do find this bit actually quite intriguing. And I like intriguing things, but surely we've established quite neatly that nice Rachel is the fearful one. So where is this little hint of fear been stapled onto mean Rachel? Why is that there? We never really revisit that, what that's for. Why is it there? I don't know, it just seems out of place, and it's not consistent with the rules the book puts in place. So yeah, it's intriguing, but at the same time, it's probably just a cock-up. Anyway, what happens plot-wise with mean Rachel? Of course, she's only in this book, unless you believe the Annie theory that we will eventually cover, that somehow what happens at the end of this book does something weird to Rachel, and it's just weird. The fact that in a few books, Rachel sort of reverts back and forth from mean to nice Rachel. There's an Annie theory in there somewhere, and we'll cover it someday. But as far as we're concerned now, mean Rachel is only in this book. What does she get up to in this book? So after the animals have discussed all this and realise they have a problem, they send mean Rachel home with nice Rachel. Nice Rachel's there with Bobo the bear. Mean Rachel rips Bobo up and is generally pretty mean to nice Rachel. The other animals have gone off on a mission to the Byers Research Institute, I believe it was, to find this anti-morphing ray. And mean Rachel decides, I'm gonna go. And she flies off, goes there, causes absolute havoc, just all guns blazing, flips a car upside down on the way in. I think it was like a Mercedes, something like that. And then she comes back the next day to nice Rachel, basically punches her in the face as her alarm clock, and says this: Jake, I should have killed him. What he said to me. To me! What happened? I saved their sorry butts. Oh man, you would not believe this battle. This one Hawk Brigadier caught me with his blade and chopped my left arm off, right? I mean, I'm in grizzly morph, so we're totally outnumbered, and this Hawk Brigadier gets behind me and slash! This sudden pain, then thud, and I realise my arm is on the ground. On the ground. So you know what I do? I reach down, I pick it up, and I use it like a club to beat him over the head. So we kick butt, right? I mean, we rock and rolled and we escape. And then Jake goes off on me. On me! Jake, on me! He goes off on me with, you screwed up this plan. You come barreling in here looking for trouble while we're all trying to sneak around and find the stupid anti-morphing ray. I heard the alarm go off and I saved you. I'm a hero. But he's like, Rachel, we set off the fire alarm to draw the Hawk-Bajir away. You show up busting indoors and they realise they're under attack. So in her own words, Mean Rachel puts the point across that she went in there, fucked up their mission, but thought that it was all alright, and it was actually Jake's fault for being a leader, because we have this thing where Rachel wants to be the leader sort of in the background, and it's worth exploring in another video, this whole Rachel wants to be leader aspect of the series that wasn't explored too much, nor was it explored too well for the most part, but whatever, that's for another video. And she talks about how she used her own body parts to club people over the head, and she was getting beaten up, but she loved it and she had a great time, and it was a wonderful holiday. And that's, yeah, it's sort of another aspect of her personality, but this obviously doesn't go well with the other Animorphs. And when they next meet up, they decide they have to go on this other mission, and they decide that Rachel can't go again. Mean Rachel, that is. Mean Rachel doesn't take this rejection too well, so she threatens to kill Tobias. Mean Rachel was too quick. She shot an arm straight up, grabbed Tobias by the feathery leg and the talon, yanked him down and wrapped her free arm around his body. Then, with perfect malice on her face, she closed her fist around Tobias's neck. Mess of me and Bird Boy here is a dead chicken. Rachel, what are you doing? Tobias yelled, more mad than scared. Sorry, my love, she sneered, but as a predator you'll understand. Of course the Animorphs are able to subdue her and restrain her, but obviously the plan, Jake's plan, is to allow her to escape and then go in, and then her and nice Rachel have to get along like good friends and defeat Visser 3 on their own. Great plan, Jake, you fucking idiot. But that aside, I just want to point out there's something going on here that, looking back on this book after having read book 48 and through to the end of the series, there are some weird correlations here between Mean Rachel and David. Remember when David went and killed that bird? Just as a bird, he goes down, swoops in, kills it, and he's just like, my instincts. You had the bit with Rachel going down and killing the fish. Oh, pure raptor instincts and all that sort of stuff. And we get the part where she threatens to kill Tobias. David nearly killed Tobias. There are a few little correlations here, and of course, when you get to book 48, Rachel has got David in front of her, sort of, maybe. That's a great book, by the way. I love 48, but it was a bit weird. And she almost sees herself as being like David. And I think that's why it was done on purpose here. And actually, looking back, the book gets an extra couple of points for that. The David correlations. Very subtle, and you have to think about it. But they are there, and that was that. So is Mean Rachel very much like David? Is David a Mean Rachel? Food for thought. Anyway, Mean Rachel's pissed, and she starts at this point to think, oh, that bloody nice Rachel has aspects of my personality that I need. I need to plan things, but I can't plan things. She had that part of me, the rotten little weasel. Wussy Rachel had part of my brain, a part I needed. I'd have to take it from her. I'd have to. How? So they go on this mission that Jake put into place. How? I don't know. This book's just a bit rushed and convoluted and nonsensical. So they end up deciding to work together because they both have other aspects of the personality that they need. And they escape Visser 3, come together and decide, yeah, actually, we'll go back together. Because earlier in the book, the Animorphs had speculated that they needed the two to agree to come back together in order to do so. And now that they have, they can proceed by doing that. Let's read the quote. I reached a trembling hand to touch her bare shoulder lightly. Mean Rachel looked at me with contempt and a half smile. Then she reached for my shoulder and gripped it hard. You must begin the acquisition at the same time, Axe instructed. Count to 3, Cassie said. 1, 2, 3. I began to acquire my twin. Her DNA flowed into me as mine flowed into her. I felt the soft listlessness of the acquiring trance. Eric moved swiftly, smoothly. He dropped his hologram and appeared as the slightly canine-looking android we knew as the real Eric. Sorry, Eric said. Then, The pain was indescribable. Both halves of me twitched and jerked and seized. Every nerve ending exploded with energy. I couldn't hear, couldn't think. My eyes were blinded by a sizzling halo of light. And then they're combined together forever. Also, we think, what happens here is Eric playing silly buggers with the team and making it so that the reformed Rachel is just slightly off. Because the next book, the next Rachel book, The Weakness, sort of looks a bit weird when you take all this into consideration. But that's pretty much what happens with Mean Rachel. I've covered some of the other details in the Nice Rachel video, so these are sort of like twin episodes, so ideally you'd watch them with each other. I hope you've enjoyed this. It was fun knowing you, Mean Rachel. And of course I did the poll a short while ago asking, who do you most relate to, Nice or Mean Rachel? Most of you said Mean Rachel. I think it was a 57-43 split, so most of you relate to Mean Rachel rather than Nice Rachel. Yeah, they're quite different from each other, and there are some aspects of what goes on with them that is quite interesting, but for the most part it was inconsistent and a little bit too silly for my liking. Anyway, what's going to be next for AniLysis? Well, I actually asked you. I put a poll up and there were 5 options and Chapman won. So the next AniLysis it'll either be Chapman or it will be a really small AniLysis of like a really obscure character and then Chapman. So that will be coming soon, and that's going to be a very interesting one because he wasn't handled too well in my opinion, so I'll probably have a lot to say. Anyway, this has been the Mean Rachel AniLysis. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I shall see you next time. Ta-ra.